So how did we get here? Well, it could have something to do with the AfroForum guys who went to America a few years ago to peddle the white genocide myth. It could be because of South Africa standing up to Israel at the International Court of Justice. Or it could be this Pretoria Boys High School old boy, son of an Afrikaans emerald miner, who is now the most influential person in Trump's government. And this Pretoria Boys High old boy, son of an Afrikaans emerald miner, does all he can to deny and ignore the fact that he comes from South Africa, but he also constantly meddles in our politics and sows disinformation about what is really going on in this country. So we wait to see how that unfolds.
So if you have been watching the news lately, you will know that the President of America, Donald Trump, has threatened to cut all aid to South Africa. And the reason why he's cutting the aid to South Africa is because the South African president, Ramaphosa, has recently signed an act, expropriation of land without compensation. And I was like, wow, does that mean that the government of South Africa is going to take land from people and redistribute it or something? But it turns out that the land expropriation, I spent a long time practicing that. It's not a new thing. It's not like the president of South Africa is just being irrational. He just like woke up and be like, you know what? I'm just gonna sign this act into law that South Africa can now take land from owners without compensation.
He says they're confiscating land, which is probably about our Expropriation Act our government just signed into law, which, by the way, does not arbitrarily confiscate land. That's literally not what it does. It expropriates land that is not being utilized in the public's best interest. Like literally every country in the world, we all do that.
If you look at the history of it, you will know that maybe 8 years or 10 years, or maybe from 1994, there has been like calls to reform this land thing. Because if you know, South Africa was under apartheid up until the 90s, and you would have thought that by then, when the government of the apartheid was losing power, would have reformed the land to say, okay, now everybody can get land equally. But the South African government didn't just take a decision then to say, you know what, everybody else with land, we're taking it and redistributing, so stand in line. Kind of moved on, and it's how apartheid ended, actually, that you will know that the government of South Africa have always been reasonable, have always been for moving forward, for forgiveness, and like just figuring things out going forward diplomatically, signing everything into law. And when I look at a lot of people who are talking about land expropriation, there are two groups of people that are talking about this. One group is the group that is fearful of what is going to happen. What does this mean? And there's a group that is hopeful that finally something have changed. The fearful group is mainly white people, at least from what I have seen. It's mainly white, South African. Some of them are landowners. Some of them are not landowners, but they, I don't know, maybe know somebody that owns land. So the fearful group is actually have other groups as well that are supporting it and making sure that they appeal to the other white nationals all around the world to say, look, we are in trouble. This means that finally the black government of South Africa, I'm just like summarizing what I'm getting from the fearful group of this act.
AfroForum is a civil rights organization. We focus to protect the rights of minority communities.
So they are fearful that the government of South Africa is finally taking a step to getting the land from people that owns it now and
minority communities,
redistributing it to people that don't own it now. From at least that's what I'm getting from the fearful group. The hopeful group is saying, you know what? Finally, the government has now the right to get the land and redistribute it, get the land for free, and redistribute it to other people or to to people that can put it to good use. It can be the government saying we want to build a school or something, or it can be the government saying we want to allocate people here, so it can be like a residential thing.
Like literally every country in the world, we all do that.
So the hopeful group is so hopeful that this land, but on this I support the hopeful group because if you look at the land expropriation act that has been signed, it's nothing. It's not like a malicious. Wow, I'm using big words today. Okay, let me backtrack. We know that America has a new president now, Donald Trump, and Donald Trump has been taking decisions imposing tariffs on other countries, especially Mexico, Canada, and China. And he's just been signing those into laws without consulting anybody, right? So it's can be classified as like being an unreasonable leader or like somebody who doesn't want to follow the status quo. Yeah, big word. So in this climate, a lot of people are thinking that every leader around the world is doing the same thing. This is why when recently the president of South Africa, Ramaphosa, signed this expropriation act, it seemed like it was just the president of South Africa going rogue. But like I said earlier, this has been debated for years. It's been consulted. It went through the proper channels. It was debated in Parliament. The community was consulted. It's been like everything was done according to how laws are implemented in those countries. So I guess if you don't think about it, you just think, oh, here we go again. The world is going nuts. Every leader is just trying to do whatever they can to, I guess, get even with other people. And then to the fearful group of South Africa, I feel like they're not being reasonable. Because when apartheid ended in South Africa, I'm saying this, I'm not South African, by the way. When apartheid ended in South Africa, there was nothing happened. What do I mean when I say nothing? It's just like the government of South Africa then, led by Nelson Mandela, chose to forgive the past and just move on to the future. Like, I forgive them, you should forgive them, right? And from as far as I know, there has never been an incident where Black South Africans are trying to get even or are trying to get revenge. Kind of like everybody just agreed, okay, let's forgive them and move on. And I feel like the fearful group, is why I'm referring to them as fearful, is because they think that they don't believe that everything is forgiven. That's why there's a freaking out moment every time something like this happens. Also, a lot of misinformation goes around because we don't understand the legalities of laws like being put in place. So it's all like other groups putting a lot of fear into already fearful people who think that one day Black people are going to rise up and do malicious things and take up their land. Like Black South Africans are standing up against xenophobia, right, or against other Africans who are coming to South Africa without proper documentation. Do you think that if if Black South Africans didn't want white South Africans in Africa, they would have just not done that already? It's been what, 30 years, 32 years or so since South Africa got its independence. It's called independence, and there have never been an incident where Black South Africans are uprising, or they are threatening to uprise, or they are doing anything to get even with the past or with the apartheid, or trying to figure out what can we do to get the land back. So what is going on right now in South Africa have triggered the President of America to threaten to cut aid to South Africa based on what the fearful group is actually presenting out here. So,
US President Donald Trump says he will cut funding for South Africa over a new land expropriation policy. South Africa defended itself on Monday against attacks on the policy by Trump and his billionaire backer Elon Musk, who was born in South Africa. Without citing evidence, Trump said on Sunday, quote, certain classes of people in South Africa were being treated very badly.
That's under investigation right now. We'll make a determination. And until such time as we find out what South Africa is doing, they're taking away land, they're confiscating land, and actually they're doing things that are perhaps far worse than that.
So again, he doesn't know. He is literally talking.
South African President Cyril Ramaphosa said in a statement he looked forward to engaging with Trump to find a better and common understanding over the issue.
So I've spent a lot of time watching a lot of fearful people, fearful South Africans who are saying all this stuff. And I was trying to understand like where they're coming from, and I think it all comes from fear of like retaliation. They think like, okay, this is the moment that the government of ANC is going to retaliate. And I think it's not fair for South Africans and for other people to live like that. And this is not a black and white thing, because there's so many other white South Africans who are making sure that they put the right information out there and like explain exactly what is going on. And with that, I'm like, this is what South Africa is, Rainbow Nation. There's only a few people who are afraid of what this is going to do, and there's lots and lots of people who are like really celebrating this milestone that the government have achieved. So I don't know, and I think it all comes down to racism. Actually, I think it all comes down to racism. It's a racial thing. It's not anything else. It's people being fearful that black people are going to retaliate, and it's not fair to all the other South Africans. Thank you so much for watching this. I'll see you guys on the other side. Bye.